Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Greater Naples. My name is Tony Fisher. I proudly serve this congregation as its minister. We're grateful to have you with us this morning. Thank you for joining us. As always, I am especially glad to have this wonderful sort of rotating, evolving team of people in the sanctuary while we're still virtual that make this all happen. We start with Daniel Goodsit and John Forsyth in the AV room. As always, Abby and Sean Allison, our co-music directors. And today, they have invited, and we are joined by a wonderful cellist, Susie Kelly. Susie is a member of the Palm Beach Opera Orchestra and the Southwest Florida Symphony, where she's served as principal cellist for 7 years. She's performed all over with the New World Symphony, the Florida Orchestra, and the Sarasota Orchestra, and up north in the Cayuga Chamber Orchestra and the New Haven Symphony, all over the country with many different organizations. She received her training at the Eastman School of Music and an additional master's here in Florida at University of South Florida. And we're just grateful that she's with us this morning, and we welcome Susie to our midst. We're also joined this morning by Missy Cowan, the chair of our weekend meals program, Catherine Costello, who will be our worship associate today, and I'm especially glad to welcome our board treasurer, Chris Cowan, who will sort of continue the welcome.
Good morning, and I extend your greetings as well. We are very glad that you can be with us for this service. It's a beautiful morning in Naples, and whether you're among our stalwart souls in the pavilion, you guys rock, or you're engaging, or you're viewing us via live streaming on Facebook, or if it's in a time and a place and a screen of your choice afterwards. Whether you're a longtime member or a first-time visitor, all are welcome. As Unitarian Universalists, we are grounded in a rich, liberal religious tradition that honors the worth and dignity of all people and our place in the interdependent web of existence. We choose to live our faith in the world, believing that all are called to help shape a more just and compassionate society. I'm Chris Cowan, and I serve you on our board of trustees as the secretary of the board. I've been a member for 5 years and have been an usher, a sexton, a part-time Sherpa for the weekend meals program, and Missy and I have been delighted to welcome many of you into our home with the First Friday gatherings. I also pitch in my time and semi-talents with different committees within UU-CGN, including the Creating Our Vision for 2025, the Communications and Technology, and our response to COVID committees. And it's this response to COVID, the reopening committee, that I am bringing you a message today. The committee has worked diligently over the past few months with data and information from numerous sources, including the CDC and the FDA, local health authorities, local school information, and medical source reporting. I want to share with you now the future steps that our congregation will take with respect to beginning in-person worship services. Even while this COVID Delta spike has begun its downward decline in infections and hospitalizations, we recognize risks still remain present. So our guidance encourages you to think and act thoughtfully to how you wish to engage with our worship services. Beginning on September 26th, we will continue to provide our services on live streaming through Facebook, as well as making the services available on demand at times of your convenience on Facebook and YouTube. We'll also continue providing services via video on the pavilion for those who wish to gather in socially distanced manner outdoors. What will be new is beginning the in-person worship within the sanctuary. The in-sanctuary services, beginning next week, will have a maximum capacity of 50% of the seating available. As a covenant to protect and honor one another, we ask that participants be restricted to only fully vaccinated individuals. Masking will be required throughout the service. We will not be singing as a congregated body, and we will be maintaining social distancing practices. We're taking additional measures to mitigate potential exposure. Attending service in person is ultimately your individual choice and responsibility. If you feel ill or not fully healthy, please remain home and enjoy and participate in the service online. We invite you to reflect and consider your options wisely, and know that we are glad you are with us in whatever way suits and honors your wishes. More information will be coming to you this week via email and the uunaples.org website. Now let's continue with this worship, and welcome.
Let's settle into our time of worship with this morning's prelude. From the loneliness of troubled times, we come to discover that we are not alone. Into the dwelling place of togetherness, we come to collect remnants of hope. From fear that all is lost, we come to discover what will save us. Into the comfort of each other's arms, we come to feel the strength that has not yet vanished. From darkness, we come to wait until our eyes begin to see. Into the refuge of fading dreams, we come to remove illusions and focus new visions. From despair that walks alone, we come to travel together. Into the dwelling place of generations, we come to pledge allegiance to peace, to being peace, and doing justice. Let's join together in the chalice lighting. Words will be on your screen. In the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment, we gather this day. May the flame we now kindle be to us a symbol of the unity we seek. Now let's join Sean and Abby in singing our opening hymn, "'Tis a Gift to be Simple." Words will be on your screen.
Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till turning we come round right. 'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right.
A couple of weeks ago, Ann and I were away last weekend, even though I was here virtually on location from our RE wing. Ann and I were away. I was officiating at a wedding in Portland, the wedding of members Nancy Carroll and Al Curran. It was a wonderful, beautiful event, and we were grateful to be there. Nancy and Al had generously given us a room in the inn where the wedding took place, and it was a lovely room overlooking Portland Harbor and Casco Bay. It couldn't have been any better, and feel very grateful and fortunate for that. So we were there for a couple of nights, and on our second morning there, Ann told me the night before that she would like to watch the sunrise. Now, Ann is not a morning person. She'd like to be a morning person. She's a morning person wannabe, but I was a little bit surprised by the fact that she was going to do that, and even more surprised when she actually committed to doing this by setting her own alarm for about 15 minutes before sunrise, which gratefully told me we weren't going to sort of go out early and find some promontory somewhere and watch the sunrise from there, but we were in fact going to watch from our room in the inn. So the alarm goes off at 6 a.m. on Sunday morning, and of course I pop up out of bed and want to see what's going on, and it's a beautiful, pre-dawn day. The ocean is beautifully calm. There's a glow, a pink and yellow glow on the eastern horizon. I have the sense that we'll actually be able to see the sun rise over the horizon right from our room. And so I'm watching, and I'm sort of reporting this a little bit to Anne, who's still back in the bed. And unfortunately, the sunrise, in sort of as it was geographically arranged, was in between two windows of the room in the inn, so you couldn't actually watch it from the bed. And Anne, of course, committed to watching the sunrise, suggested that maybe I could move the bed over to where she could see the sunrise from the bed, and that wasn't going to happen. She did get up. We did watch the sunrise. It was incredibly beautiful. Anne got right back into bed again. So Anne had competing commitments. She wanted to see that sunrise badly, and yet, as a non-morning person, she loves to stay right there and cozy in bed. Two competing commitments: get up and see the sunrise, stay warm and cozy in bed. They don't work together. And this is a very simple sort of example of lots of things that go on internally within us on a regular basis. We have competing commitments that keep us from actually accomplishing some things. For me, there are a myriad of competing commitments that go on, and I've spoken about a few of them. Just one, for example, is that I do have anxiety around large social gatherings. So I can come up with lots of reasons not to be there, and I would like to be more comfortable initially in social settings, but I have a lot of competing commitments that tell me I should be doing something else, like sorting our recycling bin or something like that. This goes on multiple levels, large and small, from sunrises to our anxieties about social anxieties, to significant things that we talk about being important pieces of who we are. We are committed to justice. Well, what does that mean? And what do we do about that? We are who we are, not through what we say, but how we are observed both from the outside and from ourselves. So when we say we're somebody that wants to participate and do social justice, what is it that keeps us from sort of getting out there and engaging in that more? What are our competing commitments for that kind of activity? And there are many, and many of them are justified, and some of them are not. The important thing is that we take a look, that we understand that it's possible to sort of dredge those things up if we are careful, if we pay attention to ourselves, if we actually sketch them out on a piece of paper. I would like to do this, but in fact, I do these things to avoid that, which means I have a different sort of basic assumption that I am pursuing different than my stated goals. To sort of put those down and analyze them and be more self-aware of what's going on internally helps us see our options, see our choices, and be able to actually make choices for one thing as opposed to the other. Maybe our competing commitments are strong enough, important enough that we decide, well, that stated goal is something that it's a wish, but it's not going to happen, and therefore I will continue along this course. But with options come better decisions. So we're talking about those things that are hidden within us. We're talking about those things that hold us back, and how we might be able to let some of those things go, one way or the other, in our service today about things we need to let go. So I hope you'll help me and sing along with Sean and Abby as we sing our centering hymn this morning, number 391, Voice Still and Small. The words will be on your screen.
Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear your call singing. In storm and rain, sorrow and pain, still we remain singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years singing.
We enter into a time of community, a time that we miss the opportunity to share our joys and sorrows directly. Next week, we will begin to gather, but still keeping our social distance. We will continue to share joys and sorrows from the pulpit. But if you have something you'd like to share with the congregation, I hope that you will send an email either to me at minister@uunaples.org or to our administrator, Anna Riazzi, at office@uunaples.org, and share with us what you would like to have published in our weekly Caring Corner, and we'll make that so. I know that this is a time of deep anxiety. There are so many things going on in the world. We are bombarded every day by news that is troubling, by news that is disheartening, by a continuing virus that plagues our nation and the world. And that each one of you experiences your own personal joys and sorrows, your ups and downs. And so this is a time for you, wherever you are, and whatever time you're watching this service, to speak a name, whether it be your own or a loved one or a friend or someone far away, someone you've been thinking about who is experiencing some difficulty or some great triumph. Using our voices to express something moves us in different ways. It moves our air, it moves our chest, it vibrates within us, and the energy there can be released and shared. And so I offer you this time to speak a name out into this space, something, someone that you're thinking about, and then we'll light a candle of community. So please. And I share again with you the names of Nancy Carroll and Al Curran, who were married last weekend, and Jerry Krogan, who we hope is recovering well from hip surgery at the Arlington. We send our best to Jerry. And yes, we light a candle of community for all those joys and all those sorrows that are left unspoken, unheard for the time being, until we can be back together again in person. Let's center ourselves for a time of meditation, spoken meditation, and then silent meditation, again with the words of Stephen Schick. The winds of change. They gathered at the edge of my world, whispering, then howling, then roaring, moving into me, pinning my soul to this particular place at this particular position. Danger spoke loudly in my ear. Bend now, bow now, break. My heart and my mind spoke back, no, not ever. The world's world ascended to heaven, crashed down upon me, pushing, shoving, ripping me open, spilling all that I had neatly ordered. Then the winds were gone. In the distance, I heard them laughing as they touched my neighbor with a gentle evening breeze. Wait, wait, I cried. Look, back here, look what you've done. It was too late. They were gone. And I was left to recreate my world. Spirit of life and love, we live in the midst of unimaginable change. We live in a world filled with anxiety and trauma. We feel undone. And yet, we move on. We find the strength. We find the courage. We find the humility. We find the community to make life bearable and good. Let's take a few moments in silence together.
You know that I love to read poetry during our services. And this morning, I particularly love this poem because it is deceptively simple. It uses repetition to great effect, and I would like you to kind of anticipate this with me. Because poetry is such condensed language, I think we need to sort of anticipate a poem before we hear it so that we can fully focus on it, because unlike prose, if your mind wanders during a poem, you can completely lose the impact. This poem, She Let Go, gentlemen in the congregation, I'd please like you to think instead, he let go. So every time I say she let go, just put it in the masculine sense for yourself. The word she is repeated 30 times in this poem, not counting the title. But that repetition is so deliberate and so beautifully balanced that I think you will agree with me. This is an effective message. She let go. Without a thought or a word, she let go. She let go of fear. She let go of the judgments. She let go of the confluence of opinions swarming around her head. She let go of the committee of indecision within her. She let go of all the right reasons, wholly and completely. Without hesitation or worry, she just let go. She didn't ask anyone for advice. She didn't read a book on how to let go. She didn't read the scriptures. She just let go. She let go of all of the memories that held her back. She let go of all the anxiety that kept her from moving forward. She let go of the planning and all the calculations about how to do it just right. She didn't promise to let go. She didn't journal about it. She didn't write the projected date in her day timer. She made no public announcement and put no ad in the paper. She didn't check the weather report or read her daily horoscope. She just let go. She didn't analyze whether she should let go. She didn't call her friends to discuss the matter. She didn't do a 5-step spiritual mind treatment. She didn't call the prayer line. She didn't utter one word. She just let go. No one was around when it happened. There was no applause or congratulations. No one thanked her or praised her. No one noticed a thing. Like a leaf falling from a tree, she just let go. There was no effort. There was no struggle. It wasn't good and it wasn't bad. It was what it was, and it is just that. In the space of letting go, she let it all be. A small smile came over her face. A light breeze blew through her, and the sun and the moon shone forevermore.
Ache for love's healing all through our days. Our world needs love's revealing in all its ways. Fearful hearts suspect the stranger, hardened nations armed for danger. Love lives on, the powerful changer, all through our days.
Way back in 1968, spiritual monk and writer Thomas Merton wrote something that some of you may have heard. 1968, Thomas Merton wrote, "We are living in the greatest revolution in history, a huge, spontaneous upheaval of the entire human race. Not the revolution planned and carried out by any particular party, race, or nation, but a deep, elemental boiling over of all the inner contradictions that have ever been in humankind. A revelation of the chaotic forces inside everybody. This is not something we have chosen, nor is it something we are free to avoid. This revolution," Merton wrote, "is a profound spiritual crisis of the whole world, manifested largely in desperation, cynicism, violence, conflict, self-contradiction, ambivalence, fear and hope, doubt and belief, creation and destructiveness, progress and regression. We do not know if we're building a fabulously wonderful world or destroying all that we have ever had, all that we've ever achieved. The inner force of man is boiling over, busting out, the good together with the evil, the good poisoned by evil and fighting it, the evil pretending to be good and revealing itself in the most dreadful crimes, justified and rationalized by the purest and most innocent intentions." This is quite a quote from 1968. And I feel it today. I suspect that many of you do, if not all, as well. The anxiety, the concerns about what is going on and what might happen. As a follow-up to that quote, and something that's not often heard, Merton said that if we really sought truth through all of this, we would begin slowly and laboriously to divest ourselves one by one of all the coverings of fiction and delusion that we hold. Letting go. Facing a deeper reality. So we wonder where we are in this long, long process. And how do we respond to now? What do we do? Think about the past 18 months and all the losses, all the things we had to let go to a degree. A sense of security, a sense of ease, some of our personal liberty, our independence. On the other hand, we have begun to catch a glimpse of what interdependence really means and how hard it is to achieve, to reach for. We've had to think about individualism because we've seen that sort of sense of rugged individualism of for me and only for me and the freedoms that this country gives me. We've seen that play out day to day on our television screens. And we wonder, how does this become, how do we reconcile all of this? And yet there is still more, I think, that we need to think about letting go individually and collectively. That strong sense of individualism that is sort of definitive of our culture. We need to let that go. We need to think about community more. We need to let go of the sense that we have all the answers. It comes with that sense of privilege of being educated and comfortable. But we have to realize that our particular mindset is not held by the majority of people in this world who struggle every day to make ends meet. That there's a different reality that we have to connect with, and that other people don't have to connect with our reality. We have to consider that our past choices and our ongoing actions do define who we are individually and collectively. As individuals, we may feel that there's a strong center, but again, it's our actions that define us to the outside world in a very profound way. How do we take a breath? How do we let go as the woman in the poem did? How does that happen? My first year in seminary, my first class in seminary back in 2010 is when I heard about competing commitments and the work of Bob Keegan and Lisa Leahy at Harvard and their work on change and how change might be possible. They wrote a book called Immunity to Change, which described all those things I talked about, those competing commitments, and laid out a passage, a pathway for us to examine, do some serious self-examination, and see what it is that is holding us back. We struggle to become whole in that way as individuals, and then if we struggle as individuals, how do we do that collectively? Rabbi Harold Kushner, in his book, Living a Life That Matters, talks about this quest for integrity, saying that integrity means being whole, unbroken, undivided. It describes a person who has united different parts of his or her personality. So there's no longer that tension, no longer that split in the soul. And when your soul is divided, parts of you wants to do one thing and parts of you want to do the other. How do we come together as individuals internally, and then how do we come together collectively? Part of that process is letting go. And I'd like to offer you this morning an opportunity to think about your own place in this strange world of anxiety, this strange time that we're in, however long it has to last, and offer you a ritual of sorts. So I invite you to get comfortable, get your feet on the ground, take a deep breath, and let's think about letting go. So we know that change is hard. It takes willpower to defy the routine, to change the norm, to upend the status quo. We are, after all, creatures of habit, and habits are hard to break. But that doesn't mean that it's impossible. So, I want you to take a minute to think about some story that you've been living with. It could be a personal story, a personal struggle. It could be your relationship to the larger community, how that's working. It might be something recent or something you've been holding for a long time. Daniel, I think that the folks on the pavilion aren't hearing right now. Can you hear me now? Okay. Sorry out there in virtual land. just a little break. So let's take another deep breath and get ourselves centered in this ritual of letting go. I talked about change being difficult, a matter of will in some cases, but also a matter of more deeper self-awareness, of introspection. And I'd like you to think about a story that you've been living with and want to let go. It could be a story that's personal, deeply personal, that you've been holding for a short time or a long time. Or it could be a story about how you relate to the world, a narrative that you are telling yourself and that's troubling you. I want you to think of that story and hold it for a moment. As we hold those things together in silence. This could be holding on to the pain of somebody who has hurt you. It could be holding on to grief for the loss of someone or something in your life. The losses we've already talked about this morning. Perhaps you have to come to terms with things you cannot be or do in your life anymore. As we age, sometimes the limits of both health and time hold us back. And you grieve those things. We all grieve those things. Perhaps we're grieving the loss of control over our lives or our independence, something that we all hold dear. Whatever it is, settle yourselves and think on one of those things and hold it for a moment. And now I'd like you to think about perhaps a word or a phrase that epitomizes or represents that story. It could be the name of a person, it could be a feeling, whatever it is. Hold that phrase, that word, that sentence in your mind. Frame it and hold it. Now I'd like you to imagine writing that down on a piece of paper, that word or phrase. I'd like, as you think about writing that down, of transferring that feeling, that thing that's holding you back, that thing you need to let go, into that piece of paper. And now I'd like you to imagine crinkling that piece of paper up in a very tight little ball. Keeping and transferring, again, all that you've been feeling into that piece of paper, that small and smaller little ball of paper. And placing that on a surface and putting a flame to it. And watching the smoke rise and spread and dissipate. And imagine it taking away that thing, that feeling, that story you need to let go. Imagine it being the end of that story. And in its place, a new story needs to be written. And a fresh piece of paper to be filled. When something comes to an end, it can leave an opening for something else, unexpected, rewarding, different, something that can grow where something has been left. I realize that this ritual, perhaps in this moment, didn't work for you, or maybe it did, but it's something that you can do. And rituals are important in our lives, especially in letting go. We come together for memorial service to perform a ritual of saying goodbye. There are other rituals in our lives that we perform all the time that give us comfort. And there are rituals we can do to let go. This is very sort of figurative in some ways, but you can be very literal about letting go of things. You can, in fact, write down your competing commitments and understand the choices that you actually have to make and let go of one choice and take the other path. I mentioned that I heard about competing commitments in my first class in seminary. I have just started another sort of course of study on conflict transformation, and one of the first things, the most important thing that our instructor started with is the need in whatever we're doing in terms of peace building or justice work to be self-aware, to continually analyze where you are in your life and in your story and in the story of the wider community. Recognize where you are and what your options are and what your motivations are. And let go of those things that don't seem to be would have a positive impact on the common good. Hold back from putting yourself in the center. Letting go of old hurts and angers is something that happens around this time with our Jewish friends who've just celebrated this past week Yom Kippur, and an understanding of forgiveness of self, of others, both individually and in community, realizing that doing this work, this ritual work in community is also important. Because in community, we learn and grow much better than we do alone. We are able to change if we are doing so with the support and the understanding of a larger welcoming and supporting community. Other religions, of course, do this same thing on a regular basis. Ramadan and the Islamic tradition is a whole month of introspection and understanding through fasting of where you are within the world and your community, an understanding of the need to celebrate the closeness of family and those people that you love, and to give back to the wider community. And Buddhism has very similar thoughts about sort of understanding your place in the cycle of things, understanding karma and how all the things you do play out in the world on a daily basis and come back to you. What do you want to leave behind in this incredibly difficult time of upheaval? What do you want to hold on to? Something we'll talk about next week. There is no path to the future if all of us who are used to comfort, to ease, to amassing resources continue to do that. How do we begin even to think about letting go of something we've come accustomed to? Everyone on the planet understands this dynamic of have and have not, of needing to figure out how to redistribute the resources that we have, not in a sense of scarcity, but in a sense of abundance. And I think here is where the role of meaning, of deeper thinking comes into play. Again, individually and as community. How do we begin to think about these things? How do we begin to act on these things and not be held back by those competing commitments that are so strong if we don't recognize what they are? we come to this fellowship, open to all these things. This place, this too quiet place these days, but in the past, often, sometimes too noisy place, is open to our individual and collective potential, holding in love both the person you were when you arrived here for the first time and the person you are today, having found your place in this community and having dealt with what we've been dealing with over the past 18 months. It is a community of people that can offer many a life-shifting thought and welcome one from you. It is a place that provides innumerable role models from whom we can learn and fellow travelers with whom we can share both our successes and our failures. It is a place that we can trust enough so that we can try to grow in the face of a constantly changing world, reaching out for those things that are important and letting go of those things that we must leave behind, so that we can build for ourselves and together a growing, changing sense of self, community, and world. So may it be. Let me invite Catherine up once again to introduce the offering, and after that, share the announcements.
Take time to consider these words and today's messages. Let's also take time to show our gratitude for this community and all that it does. The morning's offering will be gratefully received. Please consider sending a contribution today. The information you need to donate is right here on the screen.
Found a river to an ocean, a concrete sky, and a stone-cold sea that came to where the emptiness cracked open, and all my fears came crashing through and met the fire of my sorrow. But I found my strength in forgiving you. I never even dreamed how far my heart could go to give my life beyond each death from this deeper well of trust, to know that when there's nothing left, you will always have what you gave love you give becomes the only lasting treasure, and what you lose will be what you win. A well that echoes down too deep to measure. A silver coin brings down that well. You could never spend too much. A diamond echoes deeper still, and you'll always have what you gave to love. Yes, you will always have what you gave to love.
For a relatively small congregation, there's a lot of things that go on here. And if you would like to know about some of them, it's really easy to get information. You can email our office at uunaples.org, and you will not believe the bounty of information that comes back to you. But right now, we'd like to focus on one of our most successful activities, led by Missy Cowan, and that is Weekend Meals for Kids.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. As many of you know, our congregation's Weekend Meals program was started to help feed Collier County elementary school children who are fed during the week, yet quietly go hungry over the weekend. We saw the need in our community, and volunteers and donors stepped forward. We began by serving one school and 10 children in 2013. The program has grown steadily to provide nutritious meals for more schools and more children. Even during the last COVID-impacted school year, we provided meals for 99 kindergarten children through 5th grade students from 4 area schools. And during the spring fundraising campaign, you generously donated a record amount of funds, and we have been able to expand the Weekend Meals program to a 5th elementary school. There are so many young children who every week look forward to their blue bags for weekend meals. We've already begun this new school year with a record number of 122 children from 5 schools. Our experience shows that the number of requests grows during the course of the year as school counselors are able to identify more students in need. We want to be able to meet this anticipated growth to sustain the food program for the full school year. So, that's why I'm here today. We find ourselves in need of an additional $8,000 in order to meet this increased need throughout the current school year. So from now until the end of October, we are sponsoring a back-to-school fundraising campaign. Once our goal of $8,000 is achieved, we will discontinue the campaign and notify you that our goal has been very generously met. So to donate, you can submit your donation for any amount you consider helpful by mailing a check to the church and listing weekend meals on the memo line. Or you can go to uunaples.org, click on the Serve Others tab at the top of the home page. In the drop-down box, click on Weekend Meals for Kids, then use the Donate button to complete your transaction. Again, that's 4 easy steps: uunaples.org, Serve Others, click, Weekend meals for kids, click. Donate button, click. All donations are greatly appreciated and will ensure a lot of smiling faces. Thank you to those of you who have contributed financially to this valuable program in the past, and those of you who choose to continue and contribute this fall. Thank you.
One of our proudest programs here at UU is Mindful Monday Forum. And put it on your calendar, 1 week from tomorrow, there's going to be the kickoff of a new season of Mindful Monday Forums. And the guest speaker will be Corey S. Lewis, the general manager of WGCU. So anticipate that, please. Come back next Sunday and join us because Tony's going to continue with this wonderful topic started today. And now let's join together in singing our closing hymn by Sally Rogers, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the hard night.
These words from Joseph Cherry. If we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive others and ourselves. And may we, as a people of faith, be granted the strength to be so bold, so brave, and so loving. Go in peace. Go in love. Have a wonderful day.